And by the way, Rory may never lose this thing again after last year. I mean, I said that on about the 12th hole to my caddy. And then he birdied, I think, a couple coming in.
And with that, we say hello and welcome to a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ alongside Joe Musso. I am Hakeem Dermish. According to the 1992 Masters champ Fred Couples, Rory McIlroy already has it in the bag. Seemingly everything in Rory's bag is working at Augusta.
Yeah, sage words uttered by Boom Boom on Thursday, likely said in jest, but McIlroy's play on Friday, something literal. The defending champ in full stride. A stacked leaderboard heading into Friday at the Masters, but one would lift and separate. Rory McIlroy co-leading with Sam Burns through 18 holes at 5 under par as he looks to become the 4th repeat winner at the Masters. Still so much work to be done. Tyrrell Hatton getting to work here in round 2, seeking his first career major victory. And whoa, Tyrrell Hatton on a heater at the par 3 16th. Plays it off the ridge and nestles just inside 5 feet. Potential round of the day in the works as he gets to 5 under there. Would finish at 6 under par for the day. Just the 3rd player in the last 30 years to hit all 18 greens in regulation. Approach play on points for Tyrrell Hatton. Not the story for world number 1 here at the par 5 15th. Nothing good waiting for you back there. Over and wet as opportunity becomes issue for Scheffler, who would salvage bogey. Even par for the tournament after a 2 over 74 in round 2, an over par round for just the 3rd time in 26 career rounds at the Masters. The 45-year-old Justin Rose making himself apparent on Thursday and much more of the same on Friday. Twice a runner-up via playoff, but sublime iron play on Friday for Rosie, who finishes at 5 under par, was last year's leader through 36 holes. Deserving of a jacket, but that's not how they hand him out. Brooks Koepka, your modern major hunter, the mock neck. I mean, got to be worth a couple shots, right? At the Golden Bell, from 11 feet, one of 6 circles on the day for Brooks. Tommy Fleetwood, also in search of more major distinction. His first career major victory it would be, and maybe just check your pockets. Fleetwood letting it all hang out here on Friday. His second eagle of the day there at 15, making his move as he hits T4 at 5 under. But all played supporting cast to Friday's star, Rory McIlroy. Back-to-back Masters, amongst the most rare feats that this game has ever seen, and McIlroy positioning himself for just that. After turning in 34, would give one back at 10, and then catching full stride at 12, the picturesque par 3 sticks it to 7 feet and makes birdie. Then at the par 5 13th from just inside 8 feet, strung 3 in a row on the front 9, breaking into that sprint on the back as he moves to 8 under. Your other co-leader through 18 holes, Sam Burns, had a up and down day but finishes on a high point. Steely performance for Burns, who rallied back from a couple second 9 bogeys. Burns 1 under 71 in round 2, sits T2 at 6 under. Alongside him, Patrick Reed, the one affectionately known as P, looking to build off a 3 under 69 in round 1 from 14 feet at 17, a birdie to the bottom. We start thinking of potential storylines on the weekend. Could it be Reed and McIlroy in that final pairing? It looked like it would be, but a bogey at the last robbed us of that. Reed, 3 under 69 in round 2, his 4th consecutive sub-70 round at the Masters. Back to McIlroy here at the par 3 16th after another circle at 15. Looked like it might hang up there on the ridge line, but here it comes. McIlroy. It's been 40 years since, yes sir, Roar's making a bit of history of his own here on Friday. Takes a 4-shot advantage after pouring that one in for yet another birdie, and he wasn't done. Wayward drive, a bit of the story of his week, but man, even when it's bad, it's good. McIlroy again, making everything 29 yards to the hole and hits the stick in the center. Locked in, a 5-shot lead. He wants more, another at the last. McIlroy by 6 at the halfway point of the 2026 Masters as he now sits doubled up on those next closest, and an inside track for that rare feat of back-to-back Masters champion. We have not seen that since the 2001-2002 Masters, when Tiger Woods notched those in his heights. McIlroy, 12 under and 6 shots clear. They've played the Masters 89 times before. This, the largest ever lead at the halfway point.
Maybe this afternoon was one of those times. I would say maybe not in the zone, but I definitely found a sense of flow those last few holes. And yeah, the only way I can describe it is everything that you see or any situation that you come across, you can find a positive in it. And you see birdies, and you can see ways to make birdies. So hit it in the trees at 13, fine. I can make a birdie doing it this way. Hit it in the trees in 15, same thing. And then you get your spots where you can attack like the 16th and feed it in there. And so, yeah, I think that's the best way I can describe it. You reel off some birdies, and even when you find yourself out of position, you can still somehow see yourself make a birdie some way.
Rory, what for you would be more fun, eking out a victory by the skin of your teeth, or potentially running away with it and lapping the field?
What do you think? Look, I've built up a nice cushion at this point, and I guess my mindset is just trying to, keep playing well and, keeping my foot on the gas.
Certainly a sense of clarity for our defending champion as he sits 6 shots clear. It's not over just yet, but history tells us we are well on our way. 14 consecutive Masters winners have been within 4 shots through 36 holes. This year, nobody within 5 of McIlroy. A Friday to remember for defending champion Rory McIlroy at the Masters, turning in 34 after a trio of early birdies. Gave one back at number 10 here at 12. He's at above the hole, would convert from there, and he was just getting started. Another at 13. Here, a look for birdie at 15. Dead weight to the bottom, and McIlroy in full flight. Number 16 with a low pin, always interesting. McIlroy hanging one right on the ridgeline. Is it gonna? Is it gonna? Oh, you bet it's gonna. Releasing down to the hole, and this one from the tee box had to look like it had a chance. McIlroy inside 3 feet would brush that one in for yet another birdie. The driver still escaping McIlroy through 36 holes, 13 of 28 in total near the bottom of the field, and a wayward drive looked like par at best at number 17 after laying up short right. The hands of McIlroy on display. Trevor Immelman on the call alongside Andrew Catalan and a number of our other friends said this one does have a chance, and man, did it ever. McIlroy rattles the stick, keeps the birdie streak alive, and wants one more for the road. After playing one down the ridgeline at 18, a mere formality for his 6th in the last 7 holes. The final 90 minutes of play for McIlroy, not deciding the 2026 Masters, but going a long way in doing so. Now 6 shots clear, that 6-shot advantage, the largest ever at the 36-hole mark as he looks to go back-to-back at the Masters. And it's our pleasure to take you out to the site where CBS golf analysts Patrick McDonald and Mark Immelman are standing by. Fellas, they don't hand him out through 36, but I'd say it's a good thing they know his jacket size. A masterful Friday here for our defending champion. 7 under 65, 12 deep in total, a record 6 shots clear. Patrick, I don't want to be hyperbolic, I don't want to overstate, but that did feel like watching a bit of history. What was it to see McIlroy in full flight?
It felt a little bit like last year, too, when he said he won this Masters in a 18-hole stretch between the second round and that opening third round, that first 9 where he went berserk. And I think he's playing pretty similar to that Masters without the double bogeys, because Rory McIlroy made a record for double bogeys in that 2025 Masters victory. Of course, we saw a bunch of guys stumble coming in. Sam Burns, Tommy Fleetwood, Jason Day, Patrick Reed, all stumbling coming in with bogeys on the last hole. And we saw Rory McIlroy race through the finish line. It seems like Masters and major championships are won in an hour window when you least expect it. And I think Rory McIlroy made a case that that hour window could have been clinching for a back-to-back title.
I couldn't agree more. And the beauty about this tournament, we sit here at sunset and it's gorgeous and you can hear the birds. And Augusta National has this ethereal way about it. And you almost get the spiritual sense that Rory today, all of those breaks, all of the heartache, all of the bad bounces in years past, the 17 years when he didn't convert and win the green jacket, you almost felt now that he's got the green jacket, that things are evening out. Mm-hmm. Because the driver is held together with duct tape and bubble gum right now. But then he'll chip one out and then chip the ball into the hole. And then he'll hit an errant tee shot down 13, craft a layup down the fairway, hit a wedge in there to 6 feet and make the downhiller. So all the stuff where previously, if he had hit the errant tee shot, he'd probably scramble for par or make bogey. Now it's turning into birdies and it's turning into a romp. And the patrons out here, the gallery, every birdie he makes, you can hear it around the golf course. And not only do we hear it, the competitors hear it, and they get the sense that there's something going on here. And it's almost larger than life.
Part of the beauty of Augusta National, we have so many reference points throughout history. I felt a bit of Phil here on Friday. Once he saw one go in and got his initial Masters moment, it felt easy from there on. It surely looked easy as we take a look at Rory McIlroy's scorecard. Coming home in 6 of his last 7. Again, running rough shot on that second 9, 31-65 in total. McIlroy has birdied 7 of 8 par 5s this week already, despite not having yet found a fairway on a par 5. Mark, I'm glad you bring up the wayward driver and some of the issues still in McIlroy's game, but the move looks solid, and I defer to you here. He cleaned up some of Thursday's issues. The driver's still wayward. What are you seeing in the always aspirational swing of Rory McIlroy?
Look, I'm not critiquing because he is generational, and watching him is like listening to a symphony. It's like watching a sculptor sculpt something because it's once in a lifetime. But the issue here is you watch us go through the driver. As he starts to get to the top, his hands are getting really deep, and you see across the line there at the top. That's a little more than that, and then you have to reroute that club, and the club essentially then starts hitting from the inside a bit too much. And you can see then on the follow-through, it's higher, it's wider, how he's having to shut that face down. So if he closes it too much, we see a tee shot like we did down 17, which was a fast hook. The one there on 13 you were looking at, that was blocked off to the right-hand side. But on the other hand, I want to say this. Like on 13, Rory in the past, when the swing was off, would hook it in the left azaleas or the water and cause himself double bogey or bogey. Now he's missing on the safe side of the target a bunch. So I think the endearing quality, Joe, is that he knows where the club is. He can feel it, and he's just able to make that last second adjustment. But I would say ideally, right now, the way he's swinging it with the driver, if he just gears down, he tends to want to tease the ball down a little bit, he's told me, and it's a fairway finder. He covers the ball. It still goes 320-something. We saw it at Riviera. He did a lot. And if he goes to that shot over the weekend, then I think we're fine. But as long as he's teeing it up high, hitting it from underneath like that, I feel like there's going to be some directional issues like we're seeing.
Almost that pseudo stinger that we saw at Riv. We'll see if he puts it in play. He is afforded the luxury of playing it however he likes now, with 6 shots in his advantage. And he said post-round that he knows that it's not over until all 72 has been played, evidence a year ago. We've been talking about this idea of freed up all week long, and it's quite apparent, Patrick, but pressure on the weekend at the Masters, it requires no further context. When might McIlroy begin to feel the gravity of the moment, if at all, with this canyon that he's now built?
I would say if it's tight going into Sunday, it's always tough sleeping on a lead, even if it's a large one, which it potentially could be for Rory McIlroy. But I think what happened last Sunday in last year's tournament is really going to help him, where he said once he started not playing aggressive, that's when he let everyone else back into the tournament. So I think we're going to see a very aggressive Rory McIlroy still these last 36 holes because, like you mentioned, Joe, this tournament is not over until the final putt drops. And it's kind of kind of ironic almost, or at least coincidental, that the last time a defending champion had a really good chance to go back-to-back was 10 years ago in 2016 with Jordan Spieth, who was playing aggressive until he unfortunately was not, and we know what happened on that second nine that Sunday with Danny Willett winning. And so I think the way Rory McIlroy is putting the golf ball right now, we didn't talk about that yet, that was not a strength in the early part of the season, coming off a year where he putted his best in 2025. Didn't putt great at Riviera. If he putted like he did this week at that tournament, he was probably winning that tournament. Didn't putt great over the Florida swing, too. So I know he spent a lot of time with Brad Faxon over these last 3 weeks, getting it dialed on the greens, and it's paying off. But I expect Rory to play just the same way he has been so far these next 36 holes.
It has been quite the spectacle thus far, and I give thanks we have 36 more holes to watch this man in his masterful flight. Weekend coverage on CBS and Paramount Plus. Fellas, this has been something special already, and we are now left with the idea to try and identify a foil in this weekend's drama. Eyes do go obvious places, but there's history between Roars and Reed, and it's a hearty one. The finger wags at Hazeltine a decade ago, a Christmas Eve subpoena in 2022 also comes to mind. How about a flick tee heard around the world in Dubai in 23, fellas? I'm just trying to weave some narrative here. Patrick, how does Patrick Reed's presence inform what you expect to see this weekend?
I really wish he made par on 18.
Be in the final group.
I really, really wish, because that certainly would have brought maybe a bit more to this Saturday and maybe made Rory a bit uncomfortable. Because like you mentioned, Joe, Patrick Reed is not afraid of a little gamesmanship, a game within the game. And we saw they do have history not only around the world in Dubai and in the courts, but also at this golf course.
Yes.
In 2018, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Reed, the final pairing, and Reed got the better of him. And I'm sure Reed would kind of, needle him a little bit if they had the opportunity. And so I think Reed's toughness, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. If Rory stumbles over the weekend, I believe Patrick Reed will be right there. And we talked about it a little bit, Mark. The patrons, everyone sees Patrick Reed as a villain, but some also see him as the hero.
Oh, absolutely. And Reed, Joe, is the kind of guy you well know where he takes great delight in sort of getting under your skin a little bit. And he's got that way about him, like the pursed lips and the way he looks and the way he plays. The way he plays to me is sort of crafty. He doesn't have the power or the elegance of the grace of McIlroy, but he hits these flighted balls. He's really creative. And then he gets in trouble and you see him make par and you're like, how did you do that? And it can get to someone like McIlroy, I'm certain. But I will say this. This is a different Rory McIlroy to the one back in 2018. Rory McIlroy then was still a young, vivacious, swashbuckling sort of golfer who, when he got a lead, would just expand the lead. And I expect to see some of that, not like Kiowa back in the day or like Congressional back in the day at the U.S. Open, but I do expect him to hold his own and not necessarily move back. So someone like Reed has to go and get him. But remember McIlroy and the same Bryson hysteria last year where Bryson was like, well, we didn't talk, blah, 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 blah. Rory's like, I got a job to do, man. I'm not here to talk to you. So I feel like if it was him and Reed does become the antagonist a little bit, I think mature Rory now deals with it a whole lot better than what he has in the past. Because it's not just Reed. It was Jordan Spieth a few seasons ago, too, when Rory was also in the final group, and Jordan dusted him because Rory got caught up in the Spieth maelstrom. So this is a more mature McIlroy, and I feel like he has all of the tools to deal with the ebbs and flows and the runs that they're going to make at him over the weekend.
It's been beautiful golf, not just by McIlroy. He overshadows all others, but a softer Augusta National presented itself here on Friday. We'll assess some of what we expect on Saturday, but not all were able to sprint here on Friday with a more gettable Augusta National. A missed opportunity for Scottie Scheffler, it seems. Shot a shot worse than field average with that Friday 74. Patrick, patience and strategy are really the two pillars that Scottie likes to build around. No longer afforded that luxury, sitting 12 shots back. I don't know if we're talking about him in the context of a win, but work to be done either way on the weekend. How does strategy change on the weekend for Scottie?
We've seen Scottie enter weekends, of course, far off the pace in winning and losing efforts, and it is fun to see him when he has his ears pinned back and kind of just fires at everything. I will say the one shot he said he wanted back was that approach into 13. He realized it was a very difficult shot for him with his typical left-to-right shot shape, trying to hook one in there, and unfortunately just didn't get it done. It seems like Rory McIlroy has gotten every ounce out of every single round so far, and Scottie Scheffler has gotten nothing out of his rounds. He had really good chances at the beginning, hit a poor pitch on number 2, hit a poor pitch on number 3. You look at the par 5s on the second 9, he was in the fairway in both of them, hit the ball in the water in both of them as well. And so for Scheffler, it's just one of those weeks where unfortunately the ball's not getting in the hole fast enough for him, but I still think he's playing some pretty solid golf despite shooting that second round 74, only his 3rd over par round in his Masters history in 26 Masters rounds. And for Scheffler, he'll have to be aggressive if he wants to get back into it, but we saw last year, Mark, that it's not over until it's over.
Yeah, no, look, I'm certainly not handing out the green jacket just yet because we've seen stranger things. Let's remember Greg Norman, Nick Faldo. Norman had a massive lead and crumbled on the final round, and Nick, with the final round 67, ended up winning the green jacket. But the thing about Scottie, I don't care who you are. Spotting Rory McIlroy all those shots is a big ask. So for Scottie, he's got to find a way to start to get some momentum. And the momentum is kind of a curious thing because what you got to do is hit good shots but not make soft bogeys. Or hit good shots, and when you get some momentum, then you capitalize and you get on the front foot, where I haven't seen that much out of Scottie today. When he would make a birdie, it'd sort of be fire and fall back a little bit. When he's in position there on 13, he hits the long iron in the water down the right-hand side of the green. So a lot of what Scottie does over the next few days starts with getting the 4 par 5s. That's already 6, 7, 8 under par if you play them well. And then from there you pick up 1 or 2 bonuses and you see. But look, Scottie is great. But Scottie giving Rory as many shots as what he is, what's Scottie right now? He's one
Even par.
He's even par. Giving Rory umpteen strokes is a big ask. You could be Superman, and that's going to be a tough ask.
It's 12, Mark, by the way.
12, thank you. I just work amen corner. As far as I'm concerned, there's only 3 holes in the course, Joe.
You allude to Nick Faldo in those moments, one of few that has gone back-to-back here at the Masters, exactly what Rory McIlroy will try and do over the next 48 hours as he sits 6 shots clear and looks to become the first back-to-back champion at the Masters since 2001, 2002, when it was Tiger Woods then. It is Rory McIlroy's moment now for the taking. 12 under par, following a round of the day 7 under 65 in round 2 of the Masters. We're off and running on HQ post-round. Plenty more to come as a star-studded leaderboard assembles behind McIlroy at the Masters. Prime players assess next, and what will it take to track down the return of the Mac? There are moments in every Masters that we look back on in history as one of the moments in which a green jacket was won. Still a ways to go, but McIlroy on Friday, one to remember and the least likely of those 6 birdies right here. Holes out from short of the green, McIlroy birdieing 6 of his final 7 holes on Friday to go with a trio on the front, distancing himself from those next closest, McIlroy, by 6 at the halfway mark. He has doubled up the field to this point, and it is, again, the largest 36-hole lead in Masters history, all but Harry Cooper, who led by 5, have converted. So be McIlroy, not Cooper. We'll see what it is on the weekend. Back with the fellas from Augusta National, Patrick McDonald, Mark Immelman with their thoughts, and we will get to others, but this moment belongs to Rory McIlroy. The difficulty now becomes one that looks completely inward, Patrick. What is the difficulty of keeping pedal pressed to floor for McIlroy for 36 more?
That's a great question, Joe. I think for Rory, it's not looking backwards and looking forwards for him. I think Tiger Woods was the best leader in ever, if not Jack Nicklaus, and his method of building leads was to do just that, to build them, to continue to take on chances, to continue to take advantage of the par 5s. And so I think for Rory, it's just not getting caught up looking at leaderboards, any of that. He understands that this is still not in the house quite yet, and there's a long way to go in this tournament. So if you're leaderboard watching here on Saturday, which I don't think he will, I think he'll just stay in his own lane. He'll get himself in trouble. But Rory McIlroy understands at this point it's in between the years for him.
Yeah, well, it's his to lose, clearly. And we had footage of him during the second round where we saw him gazing at a leaderboard a couple times. So he sort of knew where things were. But to add to what you say, which is very appropriate, I would say that You got to continue to hit each shot on its merits, because it's very easy to drop into, if this is football, the prevent defense. And you know what the prevent defense does, right? It prevents you winning. And it's the same sort of thing here with, so you start to think that way, and then as soon as you make a mistake, you're like, oh my gosh, and you get in your own head. So if I was advising Rory, and he's got some really smart people around him, so he doesn't need me, but he knows, and we've seen him do it at Kiowa Island, like I list, at Congressional, where he's got the lead, and he accelerates, but it's never rash. So if you're in trouble, you hit the smart shot. If you have a chance to go for a green in 2, you go ahead and do it. You play it like you were playing the first 2 rounds. It's the conundrum always when you're playing well, then you start to protect, and when you're playing badly, then sometimes you get rash, which is Rory what he used to do. Now, if he's got a chance, attack. If you have to, you defend, and you just keep doing what you've been doing, and you should work out fine in the end, because essentially everyone's given you a start. And you're the generational talent of the bunch of them. And so you just got to stay in the moment and hit the right shot.
The NFL on CBS just around the corner, and for that we also give thanks. Let's call this 28-3 then. We need a epic comeback by someone.
Oh my gosh.
Here at halftime.
I'm a Falcons guy, you know that. Huh?
I apologize. Okay.
You just struck a nerve, Musso.
2025, my Chicago Bears, the comeback artists that they were. Someone has to make a move and own this moment, if not Rory McIlroy. It's going to take mental fortitude to even chase a number that he's posted to this point, and I think mentally prepared is someone like Justin Rose. He's an elder statesman. He's played great golf to this point. It does seem as if he has to look inward as well and not worry about the number that Rory's posted to this point. A tactician, oftentimes here, Rosie gained nearly 5 shots on approach here on Friday. It was what we were set to talk about prior to McIlroy's round, but this is one of the best approach rounds in recent memory at Augusta National. Patrick, does anything feel different this time around, or are we hurtling towards inevitable heartache once again for Rosie?
I think it does feel different, and I think this upcoming round here on Saturday is one that he had penned, because he wasn't upset with how he played Sunday at Augusta National in last year's tournament. He was upset with what happened on Saturday when he shot a 75. Remember, this is a guy who shot the lowest rounds on Thursday and on Sunday as well in last year's tournament, and he just bled a ton of strokes on the greens, and it felt like really with that bounce on 12 and some of the shots that he was hitting today, maybe the bounces are going to go Justin Rose's way. But he said earlier in the week he's not going to look up or change any of his game plan or any of his strategy until the second 9 on Sunday. And we know Rosie, with how he's hitting his irons right now and how he can putt. When he's putting at his best, it seems like everything is going in at trip speed. I would not be surprised if he catches that magic tomorrow and even on Sunday. So I'm not ready to say the heartbreak is going to set in for Justin Rose. He's still very much in this tournament, but I think tomorrow's round has been penned in the back of his head since last year's tournament, and he's going to come out firing.
Well, to add to that, everything you list about Justin is correct. And I would just encapsulate that going professionalism. And the professional knows what he has to do. And he chased down Rory, remember, last year in the final round. He put together a solid round of 66 on a day that was challenging with some really difficult, firm greens. So Justin knows what to do. Tomorrow, it's a question of getting something sort of 67 or lower. Your crucial Saturday moving day. And if he can do that, then I feel like you put a bit of pressure on McIlroy, because Rory knows that if there's some people that aren't going to go away, Justin Rose is one of those. And if you see that name just inching up the leaderboard, it could perhaps creep into the McIlroy psyche.
And they'll hear the roars for Rosie as well.
Persistence and resilience, what afforded McIlroy his win a year ago. It's going to take that from everyone else. Some others penning fantastic rounds here on Friday that just get overshadowed by the play of Rory McIlroy. The lad did make a move on Friday as well, a 68 for Tommy Fleetwood, resplendent in brown as the numbers went red, if I may. Tommy spoke of his lack of experience earlier this week, never having felt contention on a second 9 Sunday at the Masters. He will look to afford himself that opportunity here on Saturday. Mark, what's the case for a Fleetwood breakthrough?
He's just a different player, and that is my case. The guy who was a star in the making and the Ryder Cup star and all that sort of thing, who would find a way to fumble it towards the finish line, that's not Tommy anymore. And he played a solid opening round. And then I know today the greens were a little softer and I know the wind laid down, but there were still a lot of players that didn't make good scores. But Tommy Fleetwood turned around. He hit quality shots. He almost enforced his own will on the golf course, which is something he hasn't done in the past. And you saw a guy who's playing like an alpha. He's not the bridesmaid anymore. Tommy's the bride. He's acting like that. He's dressing like that. And seriously, he's expressing himself with his golf club. So I expect Tommy, because I think when we had the show this morning, I was like, I need Tommy Fleetwood to make a move and show who he is. Well, he did that, and he's played himself into contention with a sensational back nine, and so I expect more of the same. I look for that like domineering alpha personality to start to show a little bit over the weekend.
And I do love the position he is in, 7 back. If you love being 7 strokes back, remember Tommy Fleetwood, 2018 U.S. Open at Shinnecock. That's final round on Sunday, almost tracking down Brooks Koepka. And Mark hit the nail on the head. Just a more confident guy since the Tour Championship, winning in India. It seems like he hasn't played great golf so far in 2026, but you look at the results, it's like, oh, another T8, exactly. Another T10, another T7. And it's just like this guy is always on the first page of the leaderboard. I think if he needs to make up this deficit, it's going to start on the greens. We saw him take advantage of the par 5s today with 2 eagles, made a couple really nice putts there. If that continues into the weekend, I know he just put a new sight line on that spider of his. If that continues into the weekend, Fleetwood certainly has the firepower to track McIlroy down.
A bit of a who wore it better. Similar scripting for our Mark Immelman and Tommy Fleetwood here on Friday. The tonal browns looking good on you both, fellas.
Mine's pink. No, mine's pink, for goodness sake. Come on.
I will say a slightly different tailoring between the two. Yeah. Let's move on to one more name here, because it was an impressive round of golf by Sam Burns. I was thoroughly impressed by the staying power through 36 holes, for Burns after he did find the wobbles in the midst of this round, got it back on track, and even got it into red numbers, Patrick. How do you assess the staying power of Burns for 36 more?
I'll be honest, I almost unstarred him from my leaderboard after he hit it in the water there on number 13, that quick left hook. Nice little conversation with Jake Knapp where to drop his golf ball. But like you mentioned, Moose, so to come back with 3 birdies after that shows a lot of grit and shows a lot of toughness. And just going back to that U.S. Open last year at Oakmont where things didn't go his way, another learning experience. I think today was a learning experience for him. Just sleeping on the lead at a major championship, one like the Masters as well, is no easy feat, even if it is just a Thursday, because how many times have we seen a guy shoot out in front of everyone and then 2 over, 3 over on the 3rd page of the leaderboard after being the first round leader? And for Sam Burns to get under par with that finish, I think is huge for his mentality going into tomorrow.
Agreed wholeheartedly, because I'm with you. After those 2 bogeys there early in the second 9, I was like, okay, here we go. This is Sam Burns again, because he doesn't have that off-speed, that nuanced shot. Everything with him is full bore. And in the past, to me, Sam Burns has sort of been the guy, if he doesn't play and win, he's always kind of like shoot the good final day like he did at Pebble and play your way back into the top 10 or a top 5. For me, I think the barometer is tomorrow in the 3rd round for Sam Burns. He's in contention now. You're in one of the last few groups. Now go out and play. Now go out and show who you are. You showed it some at Oakmont, to your point, but now moving day tomorrow, you can thrust yourself into the final group and then have the leader, Rory, if it still is the case, within your sight. So tomorrow, to me, is where it all hinges for Sam Burns.
A fun Saturday in store. Patrick McDonald and Mark Immelman setting the stage here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you, fellas. More to come here on CBS Sports HQ, your home for highlights and tournament coverage all Masters long. Saturday and Sunday, we have the privilege of taking you inside Butler Cabin at the conclusion of play. Join us right here on CBS Sports HQ. Coverage continues from Augusta National next as we turn our attention to the weekend, including those who might not be there. One heart-aching missed cut next. Back on HQ Post Round, where the cut line was well established at 4 over as Friday's play drew to a conclusion. Bogey or better for Bryson DeChambeau would have got him to weekend play, and the only thing you couldn't do, was that. Bryson leaves it in the bunker, now up and down for weekend play, and as we discussed a day ago, the bunker play of DeChambeau out of that pulverized quartz, pulverizing his hopes for the weekend. Bryson trickling ever further, now has to hole a chip for weekend play, and it just was not the week DeChambeau had planned, and many of others as well. An in vogue pick coming into this Masters after his play globally and on the Live Tour. That play did not translate once again to Augusta National as Bryson misses the cut, making a 7 at the last. As for the weekend, the forecast reads like this. A Bluebird Masters Saturday and Sunday with temps expected in the 80s as Rory McIlroy attempts to go back-to-back. We are back here on HQ Post Round. Joe Musso, always pleased to be alongside my guys, Patrick McDonald and Mark Immelman. Fellas, there were plenty of players here post-round talking about a softer Augusta National, even players complaining of the speed of the greens relative to what they were a day ago. You don't want to lose a golf course, but I'm interested in what you think, Patrick, is going to be presented to these players on the weekend by membership at Augusta.
Pretty tough tomorrow, and then they might ease it back there again on Sunday as well. And not only were the greens maybe watered a little bit, but the hole locations were pretty accessible. Yeah. I think when you look at the par 3 16th, the par 3 6 as well, 18 was one that these guys got after for most of the day too. So maybe some difficult conditions tomorrow. It's going to be dry out here. It's going to be hot out here. Mark, unfortunately, I think I'm going to be wearing those linen pants again tomorrow just so they're a little more breathable for walking around these hills at Augusta National. And I think it's going to kind of ramp up here on Saturday and then dial it back again on Sunday.
At the risk of showing off my age, my first Masters I came to was in 1999.
Wow.
And were you born then?
Wow.
I think he was born. And what I'm trying to say, Moose, is that ever since I first came, Saturday was always the day, if the weather allowed, that the golf course would be set up challenging. It was there to separate. Like moving day wasn't someone going crazy and shooting the lights out. Moving day was someone putting together a really solid score where the rest of the field fell back a little bit. So I expect a more challenging day tomorrow. And I want to put things in perspective here. Yes, the players play it, and they said the greens were certainly a little softer and a little slower. But with context, they certainly weren't soft, and they certainly weren't slow. In comparison to what they were on Thursday, yes, there was a difference, but like you point out, you have to sometimes do this just to ensure that the golf course lasts for the 4 days as you want it to. But now the club is in a place where they can set it up exactly however they want. Tomorrow's going to be hard. Then on Sunday, I'm expecting, one of those days when the holes are cut in some of those valleys, the catchment areas. You can feed balls there, so the roars come back, and we see a birdie blitz on Sunday.
The roars come back, but this field likely to need roars to come back. He currently sits at 12 under par, gentlemen, and that's an interesting number for this reason. No one has finished a Masters at 12 or better since our November Masters in 2020 when DJ took it to 20 under. McIlroy could conceivably stay there and potentially win this Masters. I offer that to ask this, Mark. What is the number that you believe gets it done this year at the Masters?
Well, if he's 12 right now and he just puts together 2 solid rounds of 70, he gets himself to 16, which is going to be plenty. So I'd almost venture to say that Rory just plays his game a little bit and sort of ebbs and flows and sees where he is for the second 9 Sunday, then if you have to accelerate or not. But I would say the way he's going right now, with the way he's putting, if he gets a beat on the driver somehow, he's playing with so much confidence, Patrick, that he gets himself a couple rounds that are 72, 71-ish, and at least gets to 14 or so.
He's barely gone after these par 5s and 2. He hasn't hit fairway on any of them yet, and he still played them in 7 under. And the wedge play has cooperated so far for Rory McIlroy. And like Mark said, if he's starting to hit more fairways, he shoots a couple rounds under par, this thing is probably lights out, curtains, you can call it, and Rory McIlroy can not technically put the green jacket on himself. I think Fred Ridley would be handing it to him, but he would certainly like his chances just because, like we mentioned, it's going to be tough tomorrow. If he gets out there and extends it, it pushes the lead out to 13, it might be over.
13, as we see with Rahm posting that 12 in 2023, would be the best since that November Masters in 2020. It doesn't feel formality, especially at a place like this where anything can happen until that final moment and that final putt drops. But I want to go into the hearts and minds of Mark Immelman and Patrick McDonald here. Dream scenarios must change at this point. Patrick, when you look at this weekend, what's something you want to see happen? What is your dream scenario for play over the final 36?
I want Justin Rose to get his green jacket. I think that would be my dream scenario as a fan. This is a player who I grew up watching, and it's someone who is aging, of course. He doesn't have too much time left in his career, 45, closer to 50 than he is to 40. And how great would it be to see Rory McIlroy hand Justin Rose the green jacket? Obviously, it would likely come in some sort of heartbreaking fashion. But I think Justin Rose deserves a green jacket, given how well he has played this golf course, and given how well he has played this week too. He's going to need 2 really, really, really good rounds over these next couple of days to even make that conversation. But I think Rose getting a green jacket, for me, in the way he would have to do it, it would add a lot of drama, it'd add a lot of heartache, a lot of scar tissue as well, a lot of jubilation as well. It's probably top of my list.
That's a good pull. I love Justin Rose. Yes. Well, no one deserves to win, but he does everything correctly, and he's thoroughly professional, and he's a good guy, and he's a leader on the PGA Tour, and he would be the perfect Masters champion. Everything he does oozes the Masters in terms of class and attitude and comportment and such. But the reality is, and I think maybe it's the cynic because I've had so many years in golf, that if Rory McIlroy has to put the green jacket on somebody else after having a lead that's as big as what he is, 6 strokes. I know Greg Norman, when he lost to Felder, was inconsolable for a while. He stood up and he answered the questions and such, but it left a big scar with Norman. And I'm wondering if that had to transpire, your wish, what it does to Rory McIlroy. What I want is now the generational golfer of our time, Rory McIlroy. If you go in the locker room and you poll people and you say, who is the most talented golfer? You will get answers Rory McIlroy almost right across the board. Now, they'll tell you that Scottie Scheffler is the best golfer because how he's been playing. But just one of those that's special, the one, Rory is the one. So right now, I want him to do the one stuff. And over the weekend, I want this to be a coronation. He goes out and he shoots under par tomorrow. So Sunday is a canter. And he can enjoy his time around the final round. He can drink it all in. And people can basically appreciate the guy that they've been critiquing for how many years when he didn't win the Masters. Now you win one and you win one, the second one shortly thereafter. That's the biggest statement a guy can make. And for me, that'll go down in the annals of history. So I'm looking for King Rory. I'm looking for the coronation.
It would be.
I think you just convinced me.
Yeah,
right.
That would be beautiful scenes because he described a year ago as pure relief for quite some time until that joy came in. A joyous Sunday would be something deserved by Rory McIlroy. How about we speak this into existence? Scoring record in terms of margin of victory, 1997, 12 by Tiger. We are halfway there as we are halfway there at the 2026 Masters. Gentlemen, great work as always from the grounds. Patrick McDonald, Mark Immelman, we thank you. Enjoy your weekend out there at Augusta. And don't forget, our coverage continues right here on CBS Sports HQ, and your coverage of the 3rd and 4th round at the Masters coming on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. The best team in golf doing it at the best place in golf.